thank all of you for being here and all those who helped to put this together. I am the majority chair for the Diabetes Caucus for a very personal reason. I have family members who have diabetes. And as of yesterday, it is 1 year to the date that I lost my 49-year-old uncle from complications with diabetes. So for those reasons, I'm passionate about making sure that this preventable and very treatable disease people are aware of it. They know what to look for, they know what to do. And the caucus does things to help raise that awareness, like offering these opportunities for screening, like having educational meetings talking about the link between obesity and diabetes. We also get articles that we can place into our newsletters that go out to our constituencies so that they have those snippets of information that might pique that interest, might get them to go for that checkup, that glucose level check. And we also fight for funding to continue to make the awareness possible. I would love to offer some welcomes to other representatives that are part of this. Unfortunately, we are not in session today, so they have gone home to their districts, but we are a caucus of about 35, 36 strong. So we are well represented, and I would just say thank you so much to them for their leadership, and thank you for your leadership.
How many people know, well, for the kids, what you want to be when you grow up? How many of the adults who haven't yet grown up know what you want to be when you grow up? Well, when I first wanted to be in life was not a racing driver. I wanted to be the trash guy. I think it had less to do with picking up people's trash and more to do with driving this big, loud, awesome orange truck. Every week, I thought that was the coolest thing. This guy got to drive a truck all day long. Well, when I was 9 years old, I started racing go-karts. And I'd always watched racing because my dad's an engineer and designed race cars, so I was exposed to it. In fact, when I was watching racing on weekends, my mom likes to tell a story of me running up and kissing the TV when I saw my dad at the racetrack on TV. And then when I turned 16, I got my driver's license. Well, for my 16th birthday, my parents gave me a 2-day test in a Formula Ford, an open-wheeled race car that's the first rung on the ladder towards the major leagues. I remember that day like it was yesterday. In fact, I refer to that day as the beginning of the rest of my life, because once I'd driven that race car, I knew that's what I wanted to do in life. Well, after I graduated high school, I deferred entry to college and moved to Europe to race cars over there. In 2007, as Dr. Yoshi said, I went into the doctor for a routine visit. I had this skin rash on my arm, and he gave me some cream to clear it up and said, "Is there anything else going on in your health you want to ask me about?" I said, "No, I'm 22. Like, being 22 meant I was healthy and nothing could go wrong." And then I mentioned I'd been kind of thirsty. I was drinking 8, 10, 12 bottles of water a night. Kind of had to go to the bathroom all the time. He had me jump on the scales, and in just 5 days, I'd lost 25 pounds. And as an athlete, I didn't have 25 pounds to lose. He looked at me and he said, "I want to do some more tests, but I think you have diabetes." I said, "Okay, what's that?" I had very limited knowledge of what it was. I didn't have any family. I didn't have really close friends with diabetes. And he explained what diabetes was and what it meant to me. And so sent me to the endocrinologist, where I took my first insulin injection and started to understand what managing blood sugars was all about. 6 months after I was diagnosed, I had my first race with diabetes because I decided that getting diagnosed with diabetes wasn't going to slow me down. And as a racing driver, not slowing down is what we're all about. So in my first race with diabetes, 6 months after I was diagnosed, I got in the car and came away with a podium. And I remember standing on the podium with the second place trophy in my hand thinking, I can still do this. I'm the same driver, I'm the same competitor as I was before I was diagnosed. In fact, I think I'm a better athlete because of my diabetes rather than despite it. As an athlete, I'm better understanding of my body. I know what I need to do nutritionally to prepare. And since then, I've managed to work my way towards the major leagues, and for the last 3 seasons have been driving the number 83 car for Novo Nordisk Chip Ganassi Racing in the INDYCAR series. I was fortunate enough in the 100th anniversary of the first Indianapolis 500 to make history as the first licensed driver with diabetes to race in the Indy 500. And then in August of this year, made history again as the first driver in the history of INDYCAR racing with diabetes to win an INDYCAR race when I won at Mid-Ohio. For me, especially with November being Diabetes Awareness Month and the 14th being World Diabetes Day, it's important that we, if you'll pardon the pun here, drive awareness about diabetes. I don't want somebody to go into the doctor's office and they say, I think you have diabetes. I don't want them to answer like I did. I don't want them to say, okay, what's that? I want them to know what it is. I want them to know what to be on the lookout for, all the warning signs, the importance of healthy eating, an active lifestyle, taking an active role in your health and your management. For me, that's almost as important as winning on the racetrack. I've been very fortunate to do what I love for a living. Driving race cars is everything I wanted in life, and anytime I'm in the race car, life makes sense. When you're going 225 miles an hour, there's maybe not enough time for it to do anything but make sense, but at the same time, that's where I feel most alive. And to be able to share that story and use racing as a vehicle for my message that diabetes doesn't have to slow you down, and you can still live your dreams and overcome the challenges is extremely fulfilling for me. Because I know that if I finish first or 21st, the fact that I'm out there racing is a victory for so many people. And I think that's an important message to remember, not just today on World Diabetes Day, but throughout the year. So a big thank you to the Pennsylvania State Capitol for hosting us in what is an incredible building. So much history in it and such a great venue. And Representative Oberlander and Dr. Yoshi and Dr. DeLone, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure, and to be able to come and speak to not only you as you prepare for your lives ahead and being aware of what diabetes is, but also for the legislation and all of the people that work on behalf of patients like me. Because while I am a racing driver, I'm still a patient with diabetes, and I think that's an important part to remember as well. So thank you very much, and have a great World Diabetes Day.